right. Good afternoon, folks, students, staff, faculty. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am excited to bring to you the first Money Talks Tuesday of fall 2021. My name is Aki Smith, and I work in the EDI Cares Department, and we are so excited to have you with us today. We've got a lineup of special guest speakers. And before we go a little bit farther, I just want you to know Money Talks Tuesday is a part of our series focused on making sure students have access to financial resources, college staff, and then also, skills, tools, and opportunities to secure your financial future and fitness, whether that's at Pierce College or as you look to transfer into the future. And so today, I do want to introduce my colleague who will be co-hosting this session with me, Ms. Kiana Fuega.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for Money Talks Tuesday. Good to see everyone here.
And in the EDI Cares Department, you may have heard of us. We are focused on equity, diversity, inclusion. The CARES part of our acronym stands for college access, retention, and engagement. So we're really committed to making sure that our most vulnerable and most resilient students at the college receive all of the support they need to succeed and graduate. Let's see, I think I have one more slide here. Kiana, if you might
Yep.
read this one off for me.
Yeah. So, in summary, we're committed to making sure that the support that you need, that you're not finding maybe when you're with your advisors or when you're in class and you need some in between help. Our department is committed to providing wraparound services for you as a student, and so that means that we're looking to make sure our first generation, our low income, and students of color or students who fall into any of those categories are being supported while they're here at Pierce College. So that might mean that you need more financial advice, or you're working on financial literacy while you're here at Pierce to make sure your quarters are funded, that you have scholarships or grants lined up, that your financial aid is sound. That might mean that you need to learn more about the fields that you're interested in going into after you graduate from Pierce, or maybe even the colleges that you want to attend when you plan on transferring, for those of you who are looking to go to a four-year institution. For EDI Cares, our focus is all of those things and many much more. Some of that includes everyday programming, so things that you're seeing today, like our Money Talks Tuesday and our Transfer Thursday that's coming up in this upcoming Thursday, where you can learn about transferring. Cultural celebrations that we do each week or each month through an online format. Summits that we're providing for students to stay engaged. So there's an endless amount of ways that you can engage our EDI Cares department. So I really appreciate seeing people come today, because this is where you start to learn about some of those things. However, if you do want to learn more, I believe Aki just dropped the link into the chat about where you can fill out your student interest form. Once you fill that out, that gets you in touch with one of our retention manager staff, so that we can talk about what your educational goals are here at Pierce, and then the ways that our EDI Cares department can support you. All right. And I'm going to send things back over to you, Aki.
Thanks, Kiana. All right, so without any further ado, we are going to introduce one of our first guests for this afternoon. Our second will be joining us in the second half. And I think we should start with some introductions. So let's go with our name, title, one fun fact, okay? And then you have the option of either telling us how long you've been at Pierce or what brought you to Pierce College in the first place. Let's see. I don't want to be the only one talking. So everybody, please put a warm Zoom welcome into the chat and or unmute yourselves. Give it up for Miss Jennifer Sullivan.
Thank you so much, Aki. That was such a warm welcome. And Kiana, you did such a great job describing all of the EDI cares and what they do. I'm Jennifer Sullivan. I am the Assistant Director of Development here at Pierce College. Hi, everyone. Thank you for your chats. It's so great to see you all here today. And I get to talk to you about scholarships, foundation scholarships, which are near and dear to my heart. But Aki gave me a list of items I me to cover here. So fun fact, let's see. A fun fact about me was I almost got my pilot's license. And almost meaning I was an hour away from soloing, and then my instructor unfortunately had a heart attack and became uncertified temporarily. But in that time I reflected and I realized I get airsick, and so I didn't follow through with becoming a pilot. So and then let's see, what was the other thing you asked for, Aki, or like how long I've been here, or?
Yeah, either how long you've been at Pierce or what brought you in the first place.
Oh, I'll give you a little of both. So November 2019, I onboarded. But what brought me here to Pierce is near and dear to my heart. It's fundraising for a cause. It's gathering funds to make a difference in the world. I have seen such beautiful things happen when you raise enough funds to support your community, and you can offer resources that have never been offered before, or you can enhance really strong programs that are so meaningful to so many people. That's why I came here to Pierce, and I get to do exactly that. I get to do what I love. So I feel very fortunate to be in this position. So would you like me to get started with the PowerPoint, Aki, or what would you like to do next?
I was hoping, Kiana and I, we could just do a little quick round of intro.
Oh, please do.
And then we'll frame our conversation for today and then pass it back to you.
Perfect. Take it away.
Kiana, you want to rock, paper, scissors? Oh, you got it.
Wait, does that mean that I have to answer these questions too? I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. Interesting fact about myself. I always use the same one whenever I hear this question. I don't know if it's an interesting fact. I was born in a Pepto-Bismol pink hospital. I think that's always fun, in Hawaii. And so nobody believes me, but if you ever look up this hospital, I'm going to drop it into the chat. If you ever look up Tripler Medical Hospital in Honolulu, Hawaii, that's where I was born. And it is massive, and it is Pepto-Bismol pink, and it is located on a mountainside. And so I was like, oh, what a scenic place to be born. Let's see. I have been at Pierce for 4 years now. And did I leave anything else out?
That's it.
All right. Okay. Over to you, Aki.
All right. Thank you. So my name is Miguel Akira Smith. I go by Aki for short. I'm one of the retention managers here in the EDI Cares department. Fun fact about me, during the summer times, I hang up my college hat and I put on my DJ hat because I'm actually a mobile wedding DJ. And that's one of my favorite things to do. Get to travel, play music, make good memories. And I've been at Pierce College since 2017. So there's that piece. Shout out to all of our students out there. If you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, please feel free to jump that in the chat. We're going to keep things rolling though with our presentation so we maximize our time. And I'm going to bring up a slide really quick. So today we're going to be talking about scholarships, something that's near and dear to my heart. I wouldn't have been able to attend Pacific Lutheran University and graduate there without a scholarship that was a significant part of the funding. I didn't make it out all the way without student loans, but that's a big part of why I'm so passionate about making sure that students apply for these opportunities while they're here at Pierce. If anybody out there is wondering if you can get paid to go to school, yes, you can, and you can do it debt-free. And a lot of the times it just means writing a little bit about yourself and telling people why they should invest in your future, right? So I'm gonna bring up a quick slide just to frame ourselves for today. And can everybody see this? It should say financial aid and scholarship lingo. A couple of terms that we wanna define really quick. So when it comes to financial aid in college systems, it can be a little complicated. But really, I think there's two buckets to know about. One is what we like to talk about, it's free money. Those can be things like scholarships, fellowships, grants. That's money that you qualify for, either because you applied for it or because of demographic factors like the amount of money you make annually or that your family makes. There's lots of ways to qualify for things. Another set of scholarships that you might see, whether it's at Pierce or as you transfer out, are need-based and merit-based scholarships. Need-based is calculated based on financial need, which is based on a formula predicated by the US Department of Education and calculating a bunch of different components together. Merit-based scholarships come with maintaining high grade point averages, and you can often find those as you're transferring out to other universities. The other side of that, money that you earn or pay back. At Pierce College, there's opportunities for students to work on campus and off campus through federal and state work study programs. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the later half of our show today. But that is money what you can work to earn and have a flexible schedule while doing so. The other component of that is going to be loans. So if anybody is out there who's watched the news in recent years, you may have heard about, increasing costs of education. A lot of people are walking away with loans as they exit their college education, whether it's associates, undergrad, professional, technical, or even master's degrees. And so being able to know the combination of how you're going to pay for school and make it out so that you're in a financially stable situation is so important. Because when it comes to graduating, time and money are some of the biggest factors that stop people from succeeding. So that's why we're bringing this information to you today. I got another slide here really quick that just defines what is need, because everybody needs money, right? So you have to think about it as the difference between what it costs and what you and your family can afford to pay. And of course, if anybody's heard of expected family contribution or that EFC number, that doesn't always match our reality. Okay, so it's important that when you're applying for scholarships, people understand your need beyond just that number, giving them a little bit of context and history to who you are and what you might be going through in school. Now, if anybody has questions that they'd like us to address as we're going through today, Jennifer and Kiana and I will be monitoring the chat. So please feel free to drop those in there. We'll do our best to make sure that we get them answered. But at this point, I just want to say, are there any questions?
I showed up late. I couldn't figure out how to get it on.
Welcome in, Jessica. You're in the right room if you're looking for scholarship information.
Yes.
Excellent. So I think at this time, I'm going to pass the mic over to Jennifer and stop my share so she can get going.
Thank you so much. Are you able to see this PowerPoint?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. It was almost like we coordinated this because you led into a lot of the things I'm going to talk exactly about further, Aki. So thank you for that. So this is Pierce College Foundation, what you need to know to be successful in applying for scholarships. And we want you to be successful. So contact me at any time. The website you see here is our foundation scholarships website. And you can go to the main page and do a search. It should be pretty findable on our website. And if not, feel free to contact the development team at any time. Okay, I'm part of the foundation staff. The Pierce College Foundation is the fundraising arm of the college. We're a not-for-profit 501c3, and our sole goal is to raise money for scholarships and other needs that the college may have. The Pierce College Foundation mission is to build relationships with the community and acquire resources to support academic excellence and educational access at Pierce College. The scholarship requirements. Currently, about 250 students receive foundation scholarships each year. Any major can apply. The minimum requirements are that you must be enrolled at the time of application for a minimum of 6 credits, and your cumulative grade point average must be a 2.5 or higher. This is based on that the foundation scholarships are both need-based and merit-based. It's meant to be a balance of those two. Scholarship requirements. Our application process is similar to many other colleges. A completed FAFSA, federal student aid form, is encouraged but not required to be on file in the financial aid office 30 days before applying. This speaks to what Aki was talking about, your expected family contribution. When you fill out your FAFSA, that information is automatically imported into the scholarship application, and that helps the review committee make an assessment based on needs requirements as well as the essays that you write. So that's how that's determined, and it's very helpful if you've already filled out a FAFSA prior to applying for foundation scholarships. Your scholarship, we will still consider your application even if you are not eligible for a federal grant or loan. And if this is your first term at Pierce College, you may ask to be also provide a recent transcript so that it's in the application itself. So
now, Jennifer, would that be
yes.
like a high school transcript from where, or maybe a previous college transcript?
That is absolutely correct. Yes. Okay. So when you enter at your first term, we realize that you don't have a GPA already imported into our system here. And so the only way that we can capture that is if you're able to provide one from your high school or from a transfer school of some sort. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask me and just confirm that the type that you have is acceptable. We do accept pretty much all types of transcripts. So it's a broad spectrum. Our committees, they'll consider most transcripts. So the website is where you go to find foundation scholarship applications. And on the application, you'll be considered for many different types of scholarships. There are general foundation scholarships, and most of those just have the 2.5 GPA minimum requirement and the 6 credit minimum requirement. There are also specific scholarships for veterans and military, their dependents and students. There are STEM scholarships, nursing and emergency medical technician scholarships, veterinarian technology scholarships, and education scholarships, including early childhood education. There are 3 essays of 250 words or less that are required for part of the application. And this is usually the most time-consuming part of it. And so you can pre-write answers to these questions if you want, and just save them in a Word document. And each time you apply for a scholarship, you can cut and paste. You can also take the time in between scholarship rounds to edit your essays and make them stronger. So the first essay question is, what are your educational goals at Pierce College? And where do you see yourself after Pierce College? The second question is, how will a scholarship or grant impact your educational goals at Pierce College? And what makes you an excellent candidate for a foundation scholarship or grant? So the scholarship committee is looking for, in these answers, a point system. They're asked to award points for your application according to the following bullet points here. So articulating your financial need, 0 to 5 points. So you'll want to address this in each of your essay questions. And you'll want to explain your educational goals at Pierce College and beyond. You'll want to provide your accomplishments, achievements, and engagement. And you'll be asked to have someone submit a letter of recommendation on your behalf. We'll talk more about that in the next few slides. And then your personal statement short answer portion, that's your essay portion, and the reviewer's overall impression of your application. So going back to your personal statement short answer portion, you'll want to have really clear, concise concepts, a well-written essay, and try not to have typos. Try to put your best foot forward in these essays. Where can you go for help with your essays? You have several resources available to you, and the Writing Center is a big one. So here are the links to the websites for the Writing Center, and this is how you can book a consultation with them, and you can self-enroll. And one thing you may want to do is just pre-write your answers to your essays, and then take these to the Writing Center and ask them for advice to see how you might strengthen your case with them.
And Jennifer, just really quick, would students be able to get a copy of this slide deck following our session today?
Absolutely. Do you want me to just send this to you, Aki, to send?
Yeah, I can get it out to everybody later on this week.
Wonderful.
And I just wanted to comment really quick that those questions that they're asking in the scholarship application essay, I think, you know, at least one of those is a conversation you might have with yourself or your family members. That first one is something that we often talk about inside of our first appointment here in the EDI Cares program. So I think if anybody out there is intimidated about writing, sometimes just being able to talk it out with another person can really make a difference with getting the process started. So I just wanted to point that out really quick. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, and then Pierce College Foundation Scholarship application requirements. Completing your FAFSA starting at financial aid is really helpful. It's very strongly recommended. It doesn't have to be on there. So if you have a time constraint, something happens, don't worry, it will still be considered by the review committee. But your financial assessment needs will be determined completely by your essays instead of the FAFSA expected family contribution field. And then when you go to our website, it will send you to WardSpring is the application that we use where you can submit your application. And in your application, it will include general information about you. So this is like a standard form. If you were to go to any doctor's office, you just fill out general information. And then there's academic information. Much of that is imported through our system. But there are a couple extra answers in there for you. And then additional qualification questions to determine whether you qualify for some scholarships. So this is for, okay, you're a veterinarian technology major. So you may be eligible for these 3 extra scholarships. And so depending on those scholarships, they may have a couple additional questions for you to answer. And then there's the 3 short essays that we talked about, and then a letter of recommendation. The way the letter of recommendation works is right now, I would recommend doing it right now. Find an expert in your field who you feel would speak highly of you and ask them if they would just write a letter of recommendation on your behalf to just have on hand on file, and to let them know that each quarter, each time you apply for scholarships, they're going to receive a prompt in their email asking them to upload their letter of recommendation for you into your application. So if you do that in advance, I know that a lot of the teachers that I have asked previously have enjoyed having extra time. The first question they usually ask is, how long do I have to write this? And so if it's like tomorrow it's due, then that's usually not a very good welcome answer that they're hoping for. So if they're like, okay, 2 weeks, a month, a couple months, that would be amazing for most people who would write a letter for you. So think about who you might want write a letter on your behalf, and then just let them know that you'll use it over and over again. You'll get a lot of use out of it, because I'd encourage you to apply for scholarships every single quarter, every single term. So one thing you can do right now is to put on your calendar 1 to 2 months before each term starts, to start checking the Pierce College Foundation Scholarships website for when each term's applications are being accepted. This usually happens within 1 month before each term starts. And then what happens after I complete my materials? So you will receive, I'll show you on a screen in a future one, but at the end of the application, it will say you have submitted your answers successfully, congratulations. And then after that, it's just a bit of a waiting game. I know it's hard to wait. I have never liked waiting either for answers, but it does take some time for the review committee to review each application, and then to determine how much funding we have available in each scholarship for that term. And then it's applied to students' accounts. And then whether you receive a scholarship or you don't receive a scholarship, you will receive an email from AwardSpring letting you know if you have been successful this term, or if you are encouraged to try again for future terms to apply. So I am here to help. I work in the foundation office, and when I am on campus, I'm located in the Puyallup campus in the Gaspard Administrative Building, C108. 108C, sorry, that's a typo on my part, I apologize. And feel free to contact me, jsullivan@pierce.ctc anytime. If you are honored with receiving a scholarship award, we really, really want you to write a thank you note to our donors. What this does is it automatically pays us back, because we're able to reach out to the donors who contributed the money to these funds, and we share your story of success, your gratefulness for the scholarship, and what this means. When we show the impact to a donor, that donor is likely to continue funding these scholarships for future students. So when you write this thank you note, you're helping the next student and the next student receive funding. So this is why we ask you to take the time to write a thank you note afterwards. And
does it have to be handwritten, or can it be emailed?
Oh, digital's great. Yeah, and just you can send it directly to me at jsullivan@pierce.ctc.edu. You'll receive an email asking you to submit that to the foundation, but we'll accept it in any format you feel comfortable with. So if it is handwritten, that's fine too. I'll just make a PDF of it and compile it into a document. So good question, Aki. All right, are there other resources available to me? So financial aid is always your first stop. I always recommend any new student, any existing current student, reach out to financial aid periodically. They are getting in new resources all the time. And a lot of what we do at the foundation starts with their process. So they are the first step to pretty much everything we're doing and finding funding resources for. So if you haven't visited them recently, just check in, quarterly, make sure that you're accessing all of the resources that are available to you. Beyond that, I've learned more and more about Workforce, and they have a lot of incredible resources there. And I was just told that if you just contact them, they will find the right fit for you if they have some resources as well. And then also on our website, there's a Pierce Advocacy and Resources Connections. And you can find that at pierce.ctc.edu/help. And they also have a lot of additional resources as well. So that's the end of the PowerPoint presentation. Do you want to talk about anything else, Aki, or we could move right on to filling out the scholarship application?
I think now might be a good time to transition really quick.
Sure.
I think we can do a demo of the application a little bit after Emily goes. But I wanted to touch back on a point you made earlier about funders. Okay, students. So for everybody who's joining us today, looks like we got 20 participants in this room. So that's at least 16, 17 plus folks. Thank you everybody for joining us. If you're just tuning in to Money Talks Tuesday today, we're focused on scholarships and college resources. You just heard a presentation from Jennifer Sullivan, who works at the college through the Pierce Foundation, telling us a little bit more about the process of applying for the Pierce Foundation scholarships available through our foundation. And we'll be dropping some links and sending out the resources and slides from that a little bit later. I have a little activity, and it's about being a funder. So if you would humor me, close your eyes for a moment and imagine that you played the lotto and you put those lucky numbers into the lotto and you've win big with the Mega Millions. You just got $500 million, okay? You have so much money, you don't know maybe what to do with all of it, but one thing you know you want to do is start a scholarship fund, all right? You can open your eyes and you should see a shared screen that says think like a funder. And really what I wanted to challenge you all to do for a moment is to think about if you came into a bunch of money, right? Who would you be looking to fund? And how would you try and sort that out, right? If you could think of a few things that if you had a bunch of money and you wanted to give it to people, what would you want to give it to them for? If they were applying for a scholarship, what would you need to know about them? And I'm going to invite you to drop something in the chat, right, or unmute yourself. But a few of the things that come to mind for me off the top of the head, right, just based on what Jennifer shared, might be something that you're involved in, right? It could be at the college or maybe in your community. So anybody out there who has an idea, what's something that you might want to give a student money for? Could be good grades. Maybe somebody out there in our audience has applied for a scholarship. Thank you so much, Dynasty. What are their career goals, their community involvement, their academics? That's exactly what we're talking about. Yes. And maybe one more. Leadership, student activities on campus. Absolutely. Their financial need, somebody who has faith and is diligent. What do they plan to do after school, right? How are they going to use that money? All excellent examples. Thank you guys for participating there. All right, so, and people who want to make a change. Yes. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples really quick. We got 3 fictional students, okay? We've got cedar, oak, and pine. And on this table, we can see their GPAs. We can see a little bit about the classes they've taken, their activities, even their work, right? What they're interested in school, their impact, right? What kind of need do they have? And a little bit about their story. The thing that I want you to notice is that with each of these students, you're getting a bit of different detail on each of them. And I'm just curious from anybody who's out there, if you were to select one of these students based on some of the things that we just put in the chat, which student would you choose? Cedar, oak, or pine? You can follow along, drop that in the chat or unmute yourself. And if you do unmute yourself, tell us a little bit about why you might select that person. I'm curious who Jennifer might select. Riley, thank you so much. Pine, because they are working very hard at their Amazon job. Yeah, respect to students who are holding down employment outside of school. Takes a lot of time management and balancing. You know, we have also students who are student parents, and that's another type of full-time job. And so, all right, so we got one vote for Pine. I think we can wrap. Oh, we got Oak in here. Yep. Okay. Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate that vote. The thing and and Pine, another vote for Pine. Okay. Looks like Pine's getting that scholarship. The piece that I wanted to point out here. Oh, we got another one for Oak. Okay. Oak and Pine are tied. The 3 for Oak. Okay. Okay. So a big part of the reason why I wanted to show you this chart, right, is because when students provide detail, there's answering the question, and then there's going a little bit beyond. And so sometimes it means acknowledging parts of what we do that doesn't show up, right, when we write it down on paper, or maybe it comes out when we talk about ourselves. That's where working with somebody on this process can be really helpful, and another reason why we support and offer these services. So it looks like Pine takes the cake. Pine's got the need, Pine's doing a lot, and they're trying to be involved in as many ways as they can. And maybe this matches some of the students who are in this room, right? And maybe that should be a reason for you to try and apply for one of these scholarships. But I just wanted to make sure that we pause with this really quick before we bring up our next guest, who's joining us now from the remote universe. Everybody, if you can please give a warm welcome, use those reactions and share it up in the chat. Welcome, Miss Emily Feleen.
Hello, thank you everybody. Thank you, Aki, and thank you, Jennifer, for your presentation. So my name is Emily Feleen, and I'm with the Service Learning Department at Pierce College, which I always try to figure out, have you heard of service learning? Some students know what service learning is, some don't. But service learning is really just the idea that we can connect what we learn in the classroom to real world issues in our own communities. And so that can look like anything from community engagement, environmental stewardship, any type of project where you are taking what you have learned from your instructor in a classroom and bringing it out into a practical setting. And so my job at Pierce is to help faculty build those projects into their courses, but also to then help you as students go out into the community and engage in whatever way you would like to do. So sometimes we organize volunteer opportunities and we just advertise them out to the campus and you come if you'd like, or other times I will work on specific projects with students, or I will help students who are in a specific program and need to satisfy hours for service hours out in the community for their degree programs. I will help set you up with an opportunity out in the community to do that. So that's kind of the general idea of what I do and what service learning is at Pierce College. And so let's see, one fun fact about me is that, so I like to run, I like to be outside and I like to run. And so I've run several marathons in my life and I'm gearing up to train for another one. So it's something that I like to do. I like to get out on the weekends and go for long runs, sometimes with my dog, sometimes not, depending on how long the run is. But yeah, so that's kind of what I like to do in my spare time, one of the things. And then the other part of my introduction, how long have I been at Pierce? So I think this February will be 8 years that I've been at Pierce College. Yeah, it's crazy. Time flies when you're having fun, that's for sure. And this might age me a little bit, but I answered the ad for my first position at Pierce College on Craigslist. Pierce College was advertising for part-time writing tutors in their writing center on Craigslist. And that was how I came to Pierce initially. I was a writing tutor in the writing center, and I did that for a couple of years before getting my master's. And, you know, I decided I really liked higher education and wanted to stay in that world. And so went and got my master's, and now here I am at Pierce in the service learning department. So having a good time.
Thanks again for joining us, Emily. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. And so I am here to talk about some other types of aid or financial aid that you can apply for. Jennifer mentioned a lot of the scholarship opportunities that Pierce offers. So I'm here just to give you a little bit more information about the financial aid process and the various types of applications that are out there, because it can be a little bit confusing or a lot confusing. It was for me when I was applying for financial aid for college and for grad school. So I think the first thing that I just want to let everybody know is that the financial aid form that students fill out is called the FAFSA. And that is something that we all that you have to fill out every year if you're going to apply for aid for school. And that new application is currently out right now. And so they do a new type of form every year. And so the new form is now available. And I am going to bring that up. I'll drop the link in the chat for you to take a look at. But that is one of the first steps that if you contact financial aid, that is one of the first steps that they will tell you to take. They'll ask you that question: have you filled out the FAFSA? And so we really encourage students to fill that out. The other option aside from the FAFSA is a form that's specific to students in Washington State. And that is called the WASFA, WASFA. And so that form is a little bit different than the federal aid form. And that requires different types of eligibility. And so I shouldn't tell you to just go and apply for that, because it depends on whether you're eligible. And that is you can find that information through the financial aid office as well. But first steps are always to apply for your FAFSA. And because the FAFSA is, oh, thank you, Aki. Aki just dropped that link in the chat for you. And because the financial aid form can have some pieces to it that are confusing, requires a lot of tax information and things of that nature, our good folks in the financial aid office have put together a series of workshops that are available for you. And you can attend these workshops to sit down with a counselor who's trained in filling out in all things FAFSA, and they'll sit down with you and help walk you through the form and help you understand the different pieces of information that you're going to need. And because we're operating in sort of a hybrid environment where some things are online, some things are in person, we're offering these workshops to you in either form. You can either join a Zoom room and go over that through a Zoom appointment, or you can attend a workshop in person. And the incentive for attending in person, if you are comfortable with doing that, is that we are able to offer a $20 Grubhub gift card for all attendees for the FAFSA workshop. And I will put down I'm going to type the name of the email, or the email address for the person that you would want to email in the chat. And this person, Eleni, she does all of our FAFSA workshops for you. So she's a great person to connect with, and she'll walk you through the form, give you all the information that you need to get started. All right, so that is the FAFSA and the WASFA. And so another acronym to throw your way. So there is also something that is available in the state of Washington, and it's a fairly new financial aid. It's called the Washington State College Grant. And this is a pot of money that is available for college students to tap into to help pay for their tuition. And I will also drop that link in the chat for you to check out. But the cool thing about the Washington College Grant, and oh, Aki, do I have screen sharing? If I can do that.
I just made you a co-host. I think you should.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. So I have a little bit of a short little slideshow about what the Washington State College Grant is. And the very cool thing about the Washington State College Grant is that it does not just apply to students who are looking to go to college. The Washington State College Grant will also provide financial assistance to you if you are in a trade program, training to become an apprentice of some kind. So that is one of the really cool things about tapping into this resource. Yeah, whatever you want to do next, whether it's humanities, English, welding, Washington State College Grant, you are eligible for that as long as you are a state resident. And
correct me if I'm wrong, Emily. I just wanted to ask: is this part of the Washington State's move to make sure that 70% of our residents have a post-secondary credential?
Yes, this is one of the steps that the state is taking to try to meet that benchmark.
Okay. So for those of you who aren't aware, our Washington State Legislature is committing time, money, and effort to make sure that at least 70% of the residents in Washington State have some sort of education beyond high school, because not only is that good for our economy, it's also good for our families and our children. So just wanted to point that out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Aki. Yes, so the state is committing to try to help everybody gain some sort of post-secondary education. And as with what I just mentioned with the process, it all begins with that financial aid application, that FAFSA. So to apply for or to gain access to this resource, this Washington State College Grant funding, the only thing that you have to do initially is fill out that FAFSA. You don't have to fill out a separate application for the Washington State College Grant. Since Pierce College is a partner with this grant, what we do is when we receive your application for financial aid and your FAFSA, we do that evaluation and make sure that you're eligible, and then we apply that funding to your financial aid package. So it's not an extra step for you, which is one of the great things about this grant money. It tries to relieve the burden on you of filling out one more form, trying to call together all of that additional information that these forms require. It all just begins with filling out the FAFSA. And again, I dropped Elaine's name in the chat, but she would also be another great resource to talk about getting started applying for this, because you'd start with the FAFSA, and then Elaine would help you get that form submitted to be able to see if we could also apply this secondary grant to your financial aid package. Let's see, yeah, and I think that was all of the pertinent information for you in this slideshow. But it's a great program, and we're trying to get the word out that it is not something that is additional. You just have to apply once through the FAFSA. So, and let's see, were there any questions in the chat for me, Aki?
It looks like we did have one question from Sheila regarding international student eligibility. I did pull up the eligibility link, and it looks like if a student qualifies as a resident, which I believe you need to live in Washington State for at least 1 year,
Yes.
you may be eligible to apply for this. But again, you're going to want to check those requirements.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I would definitely check the requirements. You can check them online, or you can contact the financial aid office to see if you are eligible. That does actually bring up one point that I forgot to mention. For the Washington State College Grant, it also applies to undocumented people. So if you are a student who is undocumented, you are still able to receive this financial aid funding.
Excellent, excellent. Now, earlier in our presentation today, we did address the different types of financial aid that students qualify for. Um, One of them that we didn't have a chance to address was work study. And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to any opportunities that you know of through the service learning department for work study eligible students. Um, because, working in service learning, you have an opportunity to develop those partnerships, make an impact in the local area, and for those of you who are interested, it makes a great scholarship essay. So I think that just making sure to point that out to students would be great. And then as we kind of close to an end here, I don't know if there's any emergency funding resources we can talk about. Um, and then we'll just drop some links in our emails, and I think we'll wrap up for the hour.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up. The service learning department is hiring for a work study position right now. So what one of the ongoing projects that we have, one of our ongoing community partnerships is with Nourish Food Pantry. And they bring their mobile food truck to our Fort Steilacoom campus every week, every Wednesday evening from 4:30 to 6:30. And they open up their mobile food truck, and it is a food pantry on wheels, and it's not only open to our college but also open to the community at large. And so that's a partnership that we're currently maintaining right now, and we are hiring a work study student to help us recruit volunteers for that. To advertise on campus, create marketing campaigns, and help coordinate volunteers and get some supervisory experience at the truck itself. So if you are interested and looking for a work study position, I would be more than happy to talk to you about it, see if it's something that you'd like to apply for. And I will drop my email in the chat for you. So please shoot me an email if you're interested. And let's see. So that is the work study position. And Aki, you also wanted to talk about emergency funding. So I'm sure that's something that there's been so much information flying around about what you might know as the CARES Act money. That might have been an acronym that you heard, or another acronym that's been going around a lot is HEERF, HEERF. And the CARES Act money was money that the federal government distributed out to higher ed institutions to be able to help students who were affected by COVID-19 and the pandemic. And so Pierce College received its allotment of money from the federal government, and they have distributed that money out to students, and we are looking into trying to get some more emergency money out the door, because we know that as much money as we provided out, there's definitely still a lot of students that could really use that leg up or that assistance. So right now that CARES Act money has been distributed, and we're looking at getting together another campaign to distribute funds, hopefully starting in winter quarter. But so that might have been information. You might have received a letter in the mail. Letters went out to all students who were enrolled since March of 2020. So if you received that letter and you want to talk about the letter, or talk about how to move forward with discharging your debt to the college, you can email me. The letter that you received also directs you to our cashiering office. So our cashiering office would also be able to answer those questions for you. But hopefully in winter quarter, we will be able to start up some more of that funding again.
Excellent. Thank you so much for addressing that. And for our guests today and for our students, I do want to just say thank you so much for your time. Everybody, the time that we do have together is so precious. So I want you all to know that if you've missed anything that was talked about in today's presentation, this will be uploaded to the EDI Cares YouTube page, where you can go back and watch this recording to get your download again. And again, everybody who did register will get a copy of the slides. If you know anybody who could use some of that information, please feel free to share that out. I want to make sure, but both Jennifer and Emily have a chance to kind of like close out. We didn't get to the application portal for Award Spring, and I just wanted to check in how we're doing on time, because I just recognize people with different kind of schedules.
If it's beneficial, I can stay to show that, but if it's too long, we can do that another time, or I can just answer questions as needed.
Okay. Well, before we go further, Emily, thank you for that excellent presentation and overview about the opportunities that we have available to us and for students. You know, I think just since we've been in this virtual environment, it's a little bit harder to get in front of folks, whether it's in person or virtually. So we so appreciate both of you making the time today. And I did have one of our faculty members who joined us this afternoon asking about where students can go to access this information. So again, it will be uploaded to our YouTube page, and then we'll be sending out stuff to all of our registered participants. Let's see. Jennifer, do you think we could take maybe 3 minutes to show students how to get to Award Spring from our homepage and then close
Absolutely.
out? Okay,
Yes.
great. It over to you.
Okay. Let me pull this up.
I also need to make sure we take a Zoom selfie because I forgot about that last time.
Let's see. Can you allow me to share my screen, Lucky?
Yes. I'm not sharing my screen right now. So is it allowing you to?
No, it is. It just changed. Okay, so this is our main Pierce College Foundation scholarships page. You'll check here for when the dates are open. Right now, it's not open, but it will open at least in December. When you hit the Apply Now button, it's going to take you to Award Spring. If you're currently enrolled at Pierce College, you will automatically have a sign in. Your student S-mail account is going to be your sign in, and then you will create your own password. So this is the first screen you'll see. And then you create your account that way. Then you accept the policy and you start your application. In your application, there are the different categories that we talked about. A lot of these are already populated. If it's your first term, you'll be asked to upload a recent GPA transcript. And then you will answer the questions. And so you'll just fill in the required fields, and it looks like this. When you ask for a letter of recommendation, hopefully the person you've asked already is aware that they have your letter on hand. You put in their first and last name and their email of the person who's written a letter on your behalf. And then when you hit send request, the Award Spring will automatically email them asking them to upload their letter into your application. And then I can send a new request to them if you want me to at any point as well. And then when you, let's see, this is for me. So when you finish your application, you submit application, and the final step, like if you have forgotten to do something, you'll see this prompt, one item requiring completion. And so it will encourage you to go back in if there are follow-ups, say that you were veterinarian technology scholarship, they have some additional things for you to follow up with. So you'll go back in and finish those. And when you finally, you'll see which scholarships you've been applied to, which you qualified for. And then at the end, let's see, scrolling down. So here's what it will look like when you write your essays. And then when you submit your application, you will know that you have done it successfully when it says you did it, nothing to complete, way to go. So that's the quick rundown.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and Emily, did you have any closing comments that you wanted to make?
I don't think so. Just thank you to everybody that that came. And if you have any questions about the FAFSA or the workshops or the Washington State College grant, please feel free to email me. I'd be happy to connect you to the resources.
Okay, so I am gonna ask one last favor for those of us who are on Zoom and can unmute our cameras. If we can take a Zoom selfie, that would be really nice to share with the crew. So I will give folks 5 seconds to unmute themselves and another 5 seconds to position. We'll go 10, 9.
Thank you for providing all this information.
All right, Zoom selfie in 3, 2, 1. Cheese. Oh, I saw some other people unmute. Okay, cheese. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, Melanie, thank you very much again for joining us this afternoon. It's always a pleasure to have faculty in the room, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to get the word out to more students, but I know that you're a great advocate for making sure people get their money right. So we'll make sure that everybody gets that. And just as we're wrapping up here, I do want to make sure that I'm not remiss and post some links back in the chat. So if you haven't already connected with EDI Cares, please do so. Please fill out that interest form. Please also feel free to reach out to me via email. You've also gotten the emails from Emily and Jennifer. They might drop theirs back in the chat one more time before we wrap our time together. If you're looking for more information about how to apply for Pierce College Foundation scholarships, please reference our link, learn more at Pierce College Foundation Scholarships. And then if you are with us or available on Thursday, our next upcoming session from EDI Cares Department kind of links back to scholarships. We're going to be hosting our new directors of the student life across our district, as well as a couple of the student life staff from Fort Steilacoom. So you'll have a chance to hear from Mr. Joey Adams and Michael DeGraff, respectively directors of Fort Steilacoom and Puyallup. And then also Walter Lutch and Ali Morrow, two of the student engagement specialists and program coordinators from Student Life. For those students who are out there wondering about what it means to transfer from Pierce, I'll tell you what, this title is everything. Getting involved matters. Finding a place where you can fit in and contribute to the college or to your local community is a great way to make a case for yourself, whether it's at Pierce applying for a scholarship or trying to get into a new program. But yeah, so we will be hosting this from on the 21st from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And additionally, all of our events this year will be recorded on Zoom. I just want to say thank you again to everyone who made the time to be with us this afternoon. I don't have anything else. I will drop my email in the chat and play some music for the outro. And everybody, I hope you have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Aki, if I had students who weren't able to come today that want to get their little bonus point and learn lots about all the good work you guys do, should I send them your way or should I send them to a group of people? Or like EDI Cares big picture email?
Sure. They can always reach out to the EDI at Pierce email if they wanted to just set up an appointment or get connected. But if you think they might want some more specific targeted information, maybe they reference, hey, Professor Rasmussen told me I needed to be here and I didn't have a chance to. What do I need to know? Then I can send them everything and I'll make sure that they get it.
Okay, sounds good.
Away.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself too. Bye, everybody.
Hi, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Aki. Good to see you, Jennifer.
You too.